Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to another player profile. Now, we love a man who is going to get some midfield time and he's been denied for a while. That always pricks the ears up, and Jack Redden is certainly one of those men. As we know at the Eagles, Matty Pritis gone, Sammy Mitchell gone. They're in desperate need of some hard-nosed midfielders. Of course, the likes of Yo will run there, probably Dom Sheed will get a roll through there also, but Jack Redden is definitely going to be a man who is going to play heavy minutes through the midfield, as he did a bit in the second half of last season. But look, he's a very interesting fella to look at because he has a great body of work behind him, particularly as a Lion. Haven't seen his best footy as an Eagle, but all of a sudden, a couple of tough years, the average reflects, below par for a bloke of his standing. All of a sudden, he values himself as a bit of a bargain by the looks of it. The kicker is, he's a mid-pricer in our midfield, and it's about as awkward as it gets. 437k. Smack bang in what is probably the toughest area to even land on a price to pick a guy, because as we know, you can definitely go with mid-prices in the back line and the forward line with a little less amount of guilt, a little bit less risk as well. But I'll tell you what, when you go in that 400 to 450 range, you'd want to get it right through the midfield, because if you don't, you've sacrificed over 200k if you could have gone the rookie, or you've sacrificed yourself a genuine premium. So you'd want to get it right. But I must say, the numbers do bode pretty well for Redden. As we know, in terms of the team, West Coast need a guy like him through the midfield, as they showed and as was indicated by his scores at the back end of last year. Now, those numbers as a Brisbane Lion had a couple of quieter years to start off, as everyone does, but broke out in 2011, 102.9. He bumped it up 26 points from the previous season. 102.8, 98, 103.1, 95.5 in 2015. Last two seasons, 64.1 and 79.6. So that's 5 years of real solid numbers. Now, I think he's the type of guy who that's about his ceiling. He's a contested ball winner, a tackling machine, but he's never going to be a guy who kicks too many goals or breaks out of packs or racks up 30 plus too many times. He's more your 25 touch per game guy. 12 of those are contested and he'll lay you 6 tackles. Therefore, getting scores between the 90 and 110 mark are pretty much his go, which is not too bad. I'll tell you what, if we could select him anywhere other than the midfield, we'd be locking him in. In terms of the back end of last season, he came back from injury after missing about a month and a half, came back in round 15 and played basically every game. I think he missed round 16, that was about all the way through the final series. And his scores, 99, 114, 102, 93, 88, 93, 96, 93, 66 in the elimination final against Port, and then 95 in the semi-final. So that's a 93.9 average from your final 10 matches. So extremely consistent too. As we saw, 9 of those games were 88 plus, but his ceiling was 114 and his second highest score 102. So he's not going to go huge too many times, but I think if we could lock a guy in at what would be probably M6 for most, you would think, and if he could do 95 average, you'd take that every day of the week. My concern is that you're probably sacrificing something else and he's not going to be a keeper. That's my main thing. So they're the positives. He'll return from the midfield or to the midfield and he'll produce those numbers as he did for those 5 years. 2011 to 2015, his touches ranged on average per year from 22 to 25. Tackles always between 6 and 7. Clearances always between 3.5 and 5.5. And the contested possessions, 9 to 11.5 year on year. So consistent, and his blueprint is exactly that. That's what he's going to bring to the table. He's 27 years old. There's no reason he can't continue doing that given the new opportunity. They're all the positives. Where do I stand with Redden? Well, it's a big fat no from me. That might come as a surprise to you, but I could not see us selecting him for a couple of reasons. The first reason is my hard and fast rule on mid-prices in the midfield, particularly 300k plus guys. I think if we get around 250-ish, well, the risk is a lot less because, you're not forking out too much coin, and they have the scope depending on their average, but the scope is there to make 200 plus K, depending how well they go. What's Redden going to do? You wouldn't see him getting too high in terms of his value. I couldn't see him making you much more than 100K. Maybe if he got going and really started averaging well, he may peak and have a really good few weeks off a consistent season. He might peak at 550 if he really got going some of that better form. But I would envision his price to get up to around that 480, 490 and hover somewhere in the low 500s, because he is a pretty reliable guy. So there's no reason to see that he wouldn't average around low 90s to high 90s. Maybe he can notch 3 figures. But I wouldn't think that's going to earn you extreme amount of coin. And as we know, his ceiling, he's not going to be a keeper. So why would you be picking him? Probably to have a reasonable scorer in a M6 or an M5, give you a bit of depth through your midfield at a cheaper price, allow you to beef up some other areas, maybe help you out 200K to help you out for a shallow forward line. I can see that line of thinking, but the main reason and the biggest reason is if you just scroll up 15,000, I think there's an even better option. That's Stephen Cornelio. Now, I discussed the exact same things with Cornelio when I did his player profile. I don't see him earning huge amount of coin, and there's a question mark on whether he can be a keeper. But if I'm weighing up Redden versus Cornelio, it's Cornelio every day of the week. So if that's where you've landed and you want to go with that sort of a structure and you feel comfortable with that, well, Cornelio's your man. So I think I wouldn't be heavily endorsing either, because I don't think either are going to make a stack of coin. What they're probably going to be is a stepping stone to an extremely good premium that might fall a little bit. I can understand that, you know, you're getting 90 to 100 points each week while he just increases a little bit in price. While you're getting steady points, that premium that you've earmarked, whether it be Dangerfield or what have you, is naturally dropping because it's impossible to maintain that price at, what is it, 700 something K. So I can understand that. You're getting steady good points, so you're not losing out on a rookie who's struggling. You're not earning huge coin, but it is steadily increasing. Meanwhile, ideally, that premium is dropping relatively quickly because of their previously lofty standards. So it is hard to maintain those sort of dollar figures when you are up so high at a starting price for a lot of those midfield premiums. So understandable, that line of thinking, but I really think if the two fellas are lined up against a school wall and you've got the old schoolyard pick, it's got to be Cornelio. He's younger, he's highly touted, he's got more tricks. You know, I think Redden's more of your workman-like soldier. He's going to do your job and provide that every day of the week, which is fantastic. But he does have a limited ceiling, where I think we look at Cornelio, he's a guy who potentially could go 120 plus and is in a better side and is a former #1 pick or whatever he was. You know, he's an extremely talented player and someone we've always waited to potentially go 105 plus. I know he was there and abouts, what was it, a couple of years ago, so he's certainly shown that he can do that. So I do feel, and while I don't really encourage it, as you would have seen my team structure, I want to have 5 genuine premiums in my midfield that I can bank on. And then I reckon there's some really nice options between 150 and sort of 2 to 30K that can not only play games, but I think average reasonable. And by reasonable, I mean sort of 75-ish, 80, which is fine for that sort of price range that we pick them up. So I think there is plenty of options, that there isn't a need to, I guess, beef up that midfield and extend it a little extra position, because personally, I want to get absolute premiums and I'm more comfortable, as you would have seen if you've watched a few team update videos, I'm more comfortable taking a punt on that sort of a price and player in my forward line and back line. In regards to Petrarca, basically same price, Christian Salem, almost virtually the same price. They're guys that you could argue pros and cons in terms of every one of them, but I feel the risk is so much lower in the forward line and the back line, because for those guys to become premiums, it's far less of a jump in terms of points per game, where we just know Redden isn't going to be that. He's just a soldier who's going to help you out to be a stepping stone. And I personally like to pick players who are either going to make me around 150 to 250k, or they're going to be in my team for the whole season. I think if you can keep it as simple as that, as black and white as that, and as unfortunate as it is to look at Redden, as I said off the top, he's probably going to make you anywhere from 80 to 100k, and he's not going to be a keeper. I don't care what your opinion is of Redden, he's not going to be a top 12 mid. So that's where I stand with him. If you're floating that sort of a structure, then I'd scroll up the page and lock in Canielio, because I think he's the man around that price. He's taken the gold medal, and Redden's run a pretty honourable silver. So I think that's food for thought, but it does make for a very good discussion, because we could talk long and hard about these sort of mid-price guys, particularly for the midfield. Definitely good for a debate. But anyway, guys, that's another player profile done and dusted. I appreciate your thoughts and comments. So subscribe away to the channel if you haven't already. Give the video a like, a comment as always. Have a bit of visual stuff coming your way, hopefully, during the week. Shorty getting a bit of funny stuff on. Well, that's up for debate whether it's that humorous or not. But anyway, we'll post it and we'll see how we go. And of course, we'll hone in on some of the more serious stuff in terms of picking your SuperCoach side. Cheers.